Hey y'all, so today I'm answering the question, when you're starting a nonprofit, what comes first? And the answer may surprise you, so I want you to keep watching. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, this is Tiffany with Boss on a Budget. I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. So if you need help with your nonprofit, make sure you are subscribed to this channel because I drop videos every week and I talk about starting a nonprofit and raising money for your nonprofit. So I wanted to do a video on like how to sequence the beginning of your nonprofit, because a lot of people have that question like, okay, I know I want to start a nonprofit. I have an idea. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I really don't know where to start first. Okay. And so before I dive in, I just want to say I do have a nonprofit startup checklist. It's completely free. So make sure you check it out in the description box below. You can download that. And when you download it, you'll get nice emails from me every week. Just tips for starting your nonprofit. So if that's useful for you, make sure you download it down below. And also if you want like a step-by-step that kind of mirrors that checklist, make sure you check out my video, How to Start a Nonprofit, which I'm linking above, and also I'm putting the link in the description box below, okay? So I want to answer the question, what actually comes first, right? And so when people think about this question, they think the answer is a certain form number or some paperwork, right? So a lot of people, when they want to start a nonprofit, the immediate thing they go to is the paperwork. Okay, so what do I have to do with the state? And what do I have to do with the IRS? And I have my EIN, which is your employer identification number. But that's not the way to go. And you may be surprised to hear me say that. I actually do not recommend that when you're starting a nonprofit that you actually start by filling out paperwork. Okay, so you're listening, you're like, Tiffany, well, how do you start? Like, what are you supposed to do if you don't start with the actual paperwork, all right? So you should actually start forming a group of people who will be your board, your inaugural board of directors. And you should gather a group of people who have a passion for the type of work that you want to do. And you all should start talking about the change you want to create based on the initial idea you have. Now I'm going to flesh this out a little bit more, but I just want to say, particularly when it comes to the paperwork, the reason why a lot of people start and stop their nonprofit is because they focus so much on the paperwork and they feel like, okay, I did that. Now everything else is supposed to come to me. I have my 501c3 status. I did all the paperwork. And then they're stuck like, okay, well, what's next? Or shouldn't something be happening here, right? Because you get fixated on like concrete things. You check the box and you feel like, okay, I did what I was supposed to do. But actually the real work is in what I'm going to talk about in this video. So you should be recruiting a board early on. So a lot of people do this backwards, and hey, it's okay, no judgment, we're all learning. But if you had to do it the ideal way, you need to gather a group of people who have a passion about what you want to do, who have either experienced the thing that you're trying to resolve or you're trying to address, or have some kind of connection to it, who's already doing some work there, or who gets fired up at the idea that you could actually provide some change. Now, it doesn't have to be a group of 10 people. It could be 3 of you. It could be 4 of you, but you need at least 3 people who you can start meeting together to talk through what your next steps are going to be. And the power of doing things in a group is that you can bounce ideas off of each other. You can hold each other accountable. And the people on this board can serve as your gut check for yourself to say, is this the right thing? Should we be approaching it this way? And for just a practical reason, you're going to need a list of board members when you apply to the IRS, when you fill out your 1023 or your 1023-EZ. You're going to need a list of incorporators when you incorporate in your state, right? If you're creating a nonprofit corporation. So just practically, you're going to need a group of people anyway. And the mistake that people make is that they put their family and they put their friends on the paperwork because they don't have anyone else. But my suggestion to you is first find the people that you want to work with, you want to collaborate with. Now, I'm going to pause here really quick before I talk about what you can do together when you collaborate. I'm going to pause here because I know that most people don't do it this way. I'm completely aware of that. I'm just going to talk about the elephant in the room that most people have an idea because they experienced it. It's their mission. It's something they want to see happen. And the idea of getting other people involved it's not something that's appealing to them. But I do want to recommend to you that you try to gather a group of people, gather a team of people as soon as possible, because they can serve as the ambassadors for your organization. They can talk about your organization with other people. They can bring their networks and their connections and their contacts to the table. They can bring their brain, they can bring their ideas, and you can come together. So I just want to put that out there that, when you're a new nonprofit founder, you probably feel like you can do it all your own because it's your thing, it's your baby. But if you want to be successful quicker, then as early as possible, get a group of people who will be that initial board, who are working with you to help launch your organization. Here's some things that you and that group should be talking about. What are the organizational values that embody your organization? What are the things you stand for, right? What are the things you don't stand for? What are the things you won't tolerate? You should have a set of values that you have. You should work together to create a vision and a mission statement. Now, I've created videos on both of those things. So I'm linking above the vision statement first, and now I'm linking the video for the mission statement. You should all work together to create those two documents. Your vision is the end goal, right? What your ultimate goal after you've done everything you needed to do. What is that? What does the world look like at that state? And then the mission is basically, what do you do to get there, right? It is the most talked about statement. It's the most asked about statement for your organization. You're going to say your mission over and over again. So you want to get it right. You want to think through clearly and concisely how to describe the work that you're doing and why the work is so important. So you need to be talking about your vision and mission statement together as a group. You also should be talking through what are your organizational goals. And I like to group organizational goals, especially for new nonprofits, in three main areas: program goals, infrastructure or admin goals, and marketing and fundraising goals, right? So if you cover those three areas, you pretty much have a solid, well-rounded plan for how you're going to move forward. What are your goals for the year? What are your goals 3 years from now or 5 years from now? But absolutely, in a 1 year period, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to get done, right? And it doesn't have to be a lot, but you have to have some sense of direction that you're going somewhere, you're trying to accomplish something, so you can evaluate from year to year what you've done and what you need to improve and how do you need to go about it. You also can use this group to help research your issues. So I've done a lot of videos on what to do before you start a nonprofit. So I'm also linking that below. I have a lot of videos, y'all, so make sure you check them out. But one of the things I always suggest is to do homework on the actual need. Make sure there's an actual need that you're addressing and you can articulate and communicate what that need is, because that's the central idea behind why you're getting started. So you have to be able to communicate that in grant applications and in fundraising campaigns. And so it's really important in the beginning, before you launch anything, to identify what the true need is so you can pinpoint it and design and tailor your programming to address that need, right? There has to be some logic behind why you chose to do what you do and what's the why behind it. So you can also use this time with this group before you get started to research that idea, look at data, talk to other organizations, talk to people who are impacted by the issue to help form a good program. So I have a nonprofit business bundle, and in that nonprofit business bundle, I have 3 different workbooks that will help you through this beginning process. So when you want to flesh out your idea, when you want to flesh out your programs, and when you want to talk through finances, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, then that workbook can help you kind of flesh those ideas out in the very beginning. You also want to talk about your financial plan. So you need to be developing a budget, and if you're filling out the full 1023 form, you need to do this anyway. So you need to identify like how much you need to spend from year to year to year and how you're going to raise that money. That's a really important question, because a lot of people make the mistake of assuming that the money will come. A lot of people don't even think about that. They just say, oh, I'll get to that bridge when it's time to cross it, or there are grants out there, I'll just find a grant writer and I'll be good. I'm not going to worry about that. That is the biggest mistake you can make. So as soon as possible, work with that group to figure out how much money you're going to spend in the year and then how you're going to raise that money, right? And so I have a bunch of videos on how to start fundraising for your nonprofit, on the best way to approach fundraising when you're super new, when you're starting with $0. So again, I have a bunch of resources down below, so make sure you click them so you can get some help. All right. The last thing I'll say about this group is make sure you all are clear on what you're getting yourself into. There are a lot of administrative requirements to running a nonprofit. There's a lot of paperwork that you have to keep up on. There's things like charitable solicitation that you may not know about that you should be aware of. You have to submit annual forms to the IRS and also to your state. So there are a lot of things you have to be up on. You also need to understand what it means to be a board. Because a lot of people who are starting new, and especially like community-based grassroots organizations, most of the people on those boards haven't really served on a board before or don't really understand the depth of the position. And there are legal requirements. You're legally bound to certain things when you're serving on the board of a nonprofit. So also I would suggest you take that time to learn together and to take training about what it really means to serve on a nonprofit board so you all can be prepared as possible when it's time to really launch your organization. So I hope that video was helpful just to give you some insight on some things you should be thinking about. And again, if you're thinking the first thing you need to do when you want to start is to fill out the paperwork, just remember Tiffany said, no, that's not the first thing you should do. Take some time to do the things that I talked about in this video. And look, if you can't find 3 people right away, right? If you can't get people kind of excited about serving, because it's hard to get people pumped up about something that's just an idea when nothing's concrete, then you can still do the activities that I named yourself, right? That's not ideal, but that's still the kind of planning and research you need to be doing in the beginning anyway. And then as you build and as you grow, more people will come and you guys can then work together. So it's still all the same activities, even if it's just you doing it in the beginning, okay? If you need help starting your nonprofit, make sure you visit me at www.bossonabudget.com. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.